From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Now at 6, Deadheads take over Golden Gate Park for the second day. We'll have a live report from Dahlin. Plus, San Jose School District is left without a leader. More on the decision from the school board. And immigration advocates celebrate a ruling that is upholding restrictions on ICE raids in Los Angeles. Good evening from the CBS studios in San Francisco, where we begin with a live look at the dead. Tens of thousands of Deadheads at Golden Gate Park for day 2 of a concert series celebrating the band's 60th anniversary. Fans have come from all over the country this weekend and around the world to join the celebration. The show started at 4 o'clock, and Dahlin is live at the north entrance to the outdoor concert, sporting absolutely no tie-dye, I don't think. Hey, Duh.
I am boring, Brian. That's the problem with me right now. But the concert is taking place on the polo field here at Golden Gate Park. Sturgill Simpson is doing the opening act as we speak, and Dead & Company will be taking the stage in a few hours, sometime this evening. It is packed right now, and more Deadheads are streaming in as we speak. It is expected to be wild later on tonight. Deadheads lined up hours before the gates opened at Golden Gate Park.
Nothing's more important than going to a Dead show, man. It's the bomb.
Earlier in the day, some fans attended a festival honoring Jerry Garcia. Musicians rocked out in the Excelsior neighborhood where the Grateful Dead frontman grew up. Fans danced and celebrated the 23rd annual Jerry Day at McLaren Park.
It's medicine music. That's what it means for me. It's very spiritual. It's like going to church. It totally takes me out of my head and brings me into connection with the divine.
Deadhead Antonio Eversano was one of hundreds packing the Jerry Garcia Amphitheater. He says this weekend has been nothing short of a spiritual experience.
The energy of the summer of love, the whole counterculture in the 60s, peace, love, community, celebration.
Deadheads flew in from across the country. Many attended Friday night's concert and plan to participate in every Grateful Dead related event this weekend to mark the band's 60th anniversary.
I think the Deadheads are probably the nicest, kindest people you'll ever meet in your life. Like I said, huge community, big heart.
Yeah, we're here to pass it on to the next generation.
Mayor Daniel Laurie says the concert series is also giving the city an economic boost, packing hotels, restaurants, and local shops.
When people come from all 50 states, all around the world, and they have a great time, which they are, they go home, they tell their friends, and those friends come back to San Francisco, and we're going to welcome them with open arms.
A common theme in Grateful Dead songs is resilience through hard times.
The legacy of Jerry Garcia is certainly a message of positivity and hope.
For Deadheads like Antonio, that message still rings true.
This is about community. It's about getting along together. It's about celebrating life.
All 3 nights are sold out. Organizers expect about 60,000 Deadheads here at Golden Gate Park. By the way, the last 2 days I've interviewed a lot of Deadheads. They're coming from as far away as New York City, Florida, North Carolina. I mean, they're coming from all over. It is a big draw. Back to you, Brian.
The riskiest live shot you will see on local television this weekend. That's Dahlin live at Golden Gate Park. Thank you, Doc.
It's okay.
You did well. The people behind you we're a little curious about. Speaking of which, here's
I just need one, Brian. You got one? Come on, just one.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's all.
Did you have a good time?
I did. I went yesterday. I had a great time. And think of me now as the transition, because after weather, we're going to move on from the Dead, and we'll get on to the rest of the news. But I'm going to kind of bridge both worlds, because the focus for the forecast is how the marine layer is starting to lessen its grip. I can tell you from being out there yesterday, it was gray the whole time. I think tomorrow is different, and that has implications for the entire Bay Area, obviously. We're going to start seeing less marine layer. That's right now. So we've got another great start for the city. Take a look at the live view up here. That's the scene looking over downtown. The top of the Salesforce Tower is completely clouded in, so we can't use that camera to even enjoy the views. If we look at the forecast for tomorrow's Dead & Company show, you get some clear skies out there, and you're going to get a little more sunshine than you have had. Let's bring this back to the forecast for everybody else now. We start a subtle warming trend. because the marine layer does not go as far inland over the next few nights as it will, and temperatures are going to start going up. I just want to show you what tomorrow's daytime highs are going to look like. This is subtle. This is not the real warm-up. But even at that, inland, you're in the mid-80s tomorrow. It's very similar kind of to what you've been doing for the last few days. By next week, those numbers out there are going to be climbing into the low 90s. Haven't done much of that yet. I'll show you exactly when it starts. Start thinking Wednesday, Thursday for some more noticeable warmth, and then we'll talk about how much longer it's going to last. I'll see what that coming up in a few minutes. For now, Brian, back to you.
All righty, thanks, Darren. In the Los Angeles area, an appeals court has ruled to keep most restrictions on immigration raids there. Reporter Elise Martinez has more on that ruling.
The ruling that came down late last night is a major victory for the city of LA and a big blow to the Trump administration and the way it can carry out its immigration agenda. A 3-judge panel for the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a lower court decision that stops immigration-related arrests without probable cause or reasonable suspicion. The temporary restraining order prohibits DHS and other federal immigration agents from detaining people based solely on their race, their language, their location, or the type of work that they do. And that includes the type of raids that we saw at agricultural fields and at Home Depots. Mayor Karen Bass calling the order a win for the city.
This is a victory because the people of Los Angeles stood together. I think the administration might have believed that this was going to divide our city, that our city was going to go at each other in division, but we did not. We stood strong, and I am very happy to say that us standing strong, I know, gave the court the resolve to uphold this decision.
Mayor Karen Bass says she expects the Trump administration to take this fight all the way to the Supreme Court. In their ruling on Friday night, the appellate judges wrote that the plaintiffs would likely be able to prove their case. The ruling applies to 7 counties: LA, Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. A hearing is set for late September where a federal judge will consider a preliminary injunction to extend that order.
Here at home, South Bay leaders are throwing their support behind a congressional bill to expand protections for undocumented immigrants, specifically for those who are victims or witnesses to crimes. Len Ramirez has more.
Well, law enforcement here in Santa Clara County say they are starting to see a drop-off in certain crimes, not necessarily because crime is down, but because certain people, especially those in the immigrant community, are afraid to report crimes, or even if they're a victim of crime, because they're afraid of being deported. And so today, a wide coalition of leaders here in Santa Clara County came together to support an effort to push for more protective visas for the immigrant population so they will no longer be afraid to cooperate with police.
Police say they believe serious violent crimes are going unreported, uninvestigated, and unpunished, and it could have to do with recently stepped up ICE enforcement actions in San Jose and elsewhere around the county.
We are seeing somewhat of a decline in reported incidents of domestic violence, sexual assault, and calls for service for disturbances. Those are all the types of things that happen, inside of a home for the most part, and the very kinds of crimes where the survivors are going to have a really have that wrestle with that thought of, if I ask for help, is this going to have an impact for me?
That's why Chief Paul Joseph joined San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, members of the Board of Supervisors, and immigrant community leaders to support a bill authored by Monterey Congressman Jimmy Panetta. The bill would increase the number of U&T visas nationwide, currently capped at 10,000, that would protect crime victims or witnesses who assist police and prosecutors from deportation. The visas can also lead to getting a green card.
Now, the bill that I've put together, the Immigrant Witness and Victim Protection Act, would protect cooperating victims and witnesses by preventing them from being deported while they await processing their UNT visas. It would eliminate that arbitrary cap of 10,000, and it would allow applicants to have work permits while awaiting processing of their UNT visas. It's a very straightforward, simple, commonsensical fix that's needed now more than ever.
Panetta says it's a law and order bill that could find bipartisan support on Capitol Hill.
It helps them know that when they report crime, they will not be deported.
Under Sheriff Dalia Rodriguez says fear in the community has been so high, her deputies have often been mistaken for Border Patrol officers because of the green color of their uniforms.
And people have gone up to our cars and asked us, why is ICE here? And we have to tell them this is not ICE, this is Sheriff's Office. And a lot of the times it takes them a little bit to kind of allow us to continue to do our job.
Dalia is herself an immigrant from El Salvador and says the job of law enforcement depends on community cooperation and trust.
In other news tonight, the Alum Rock Union School District in San Jose abruptly fired their superintendent last night without cause. This marks the district's second leadership change in just over a year. Germán Cerda was hired back in September of 2024 and oversaw the district as it closed 6 schools to close a $20 million budget gap. And some folks are upset about how it came down.
What we've seen over this last year in particular is chaos being brought in a big way by certain trustees that sit on this board. It's important that we be involved.
In a statement, the Alum Rock board president thanked Cerda for his service and said that the board will begin the selection process for a new superintendent soon. And coming up, Berkeley is handing over land to the Bear Corporation to try to solve a major local headache. Katie Nielsen has that when we come back. Visibility looks pretty good out there today, but not in San Luis Obispo County. An air tanker dropping fire retardant onto a major blaze near Santa Maria. It's called a Gford fire. It started yesterday afternoon and has burned over 30,000 acres, and it's only 5% contained. The blaze has forced closure of Highway 166 between 101 and New Cuyama, right on the border between San Luis and Santa Barbara counties. Limited evacuation orders have been issued. There's not too many people out that way, but then if the wind changes directions, that's a big problem. And speaking of that kind of thing, here's Darren.
Yeah, we're going to pick up right on that part of the conversation, Brian, because as we saw from the images, there's a good amount of smoke coming off that fire. Here's the forecast. See the plume of smoke down here, and obviously you can see where we are in the bay. Which way are the winds going? There's some good news on this for us, because if we play this forward, the high-resolution smoke forecast shows you the smoke going the other way. I mean, it's getting caught up in the large overall pattern over the west, which wants to take it south first and then off towards the east. So relatively good news for us. Let me show you something else smoke-wise, which maybe you haven't necessarily been hearing a whole lot about, but when we look at the whole country, this is the last several hours of high-resolution satellite. You can see how we're transitioning tonight. You see that's that line coming across. It's going kind of quickly here, but that shows you we are updating to the most recent frame. Here's what I wanted you to see. Can you see it up here? If we zoom in a little bit, not clouds, kind of that hazy, brownish, milky looking stuff up there. That is smoke. And that's coming from the large complex of wildfires that have been burning in Canada since May. And we were talking about this back then when that started, and we knew at that point that it was likely going to go through a good part of summer, and it would wax and wane depending on how the fires behaved. We luckily haven't had to watch a whole lot of that lately. But within the last 3 days, started really going about 3 days ago, that plume of smoke started coming in, and Minnesota, Illinois, so much of the upper Midwest there are dealing with pretty bad air quality from it. So just a little bit of a heads up there if you've got friends or family, or if you've got to do any traveling over the near term. Let's bring it back home for us. Here's that image which really says so much about the moment for us right now. Look at the marine layer sitting right there, just trying to get its act together and start streaming on shore here for us. It'll do that overnight tonight. We'll see the clouds build in tonight, but they are not going to stick around as long tomorrow. They won't be terribly widespread. It will be more blue sky than anything else tomorrow, in fact. And we looked at that at the top of the newscast when we were looking at that forecast out for Golden Gate Park to show you how it's going to play there. So what does that mean for daytime highs? Let's actually put some color on the map here and start filling this in. I want to do a comparison because I showed you tomorrow's numbers first. Here's the second half of your weekend. Take another quick look at that for your part of the bay. I'm going to jump ahead now because I want you to see where we're going to be by the time we get to Wednesday. Let's change the color contour, and a little more red has worked its way inland. We didn't change much in the bay, But if you're inland, these colors are a deeper shade of red. And when we put the numbers on it now, go ahead and take a look, especially for some of those inland East Bay communities. 91 in Livermore, midweek, 96 Antioch, 92 Concord, 91 Santa Rosa. Here's a number that I think probably stands out. Not as hot, but it might make a bigger headline. 73 degrees in San Francisco. That's kind of on the high side. Even if we just get to 70 on Wednesday and Thursday, and that applies to both days. Both days should be the same. You are going to notice that. It has been so cool in the city. It's noticeable anytime San Francisco gets to 70 degrees. I think it'll be particularly noticeable this time should we do it, just because of everything that we've been talking about here with this streak of below average temperatures for all of June, all of July. Now we're getting into August, and there are signs that summer is about to at least start waking up and acknowledge that this is its time of year to do something. Not bad. We're only going to the low 90s when you look at the inland microclimates, but that will be warm. So there's your trend. We're not seeing the pattern hold, that pattern for the last 2 months where everybody's been well below average. Those are the numbers for the Bay. It looks weird. But you should be in the mid to upper 70s in general. We're talking about like Peninsula East Bay Shore here. You've been in the low 70s way too long, upper 60s at that. All right, I'll see you with more on this in the next half hour. For now, Brian, back over to you.
All righty, Mr. Peck. Berkeley is handing over land to the Bear Corporation, where a homeless encampment has settled in. The encampment is along Carlton Street next to the corporation's sprawling campus. And Katie Nielsen spoke to some of the people who are camped out there.
This is the portion of Carlton Street the city of Berkeley is giving to Bayer Pharmaceuticals. It's about 28,000 square feet in all and home to a sizable encampment. Now, lots of questions remain about when this encampment will be cleared.
And I'm a treasure hunter, and I found some amazing things.
This is Cowboy, and this is his outdoor thrift store on Carlton Street, right up against the wall of Bayer Pharmaceuticals' Berkeley campus.
I just give things away to people that can't afford them, and the things that people that can't afford them, I charge them a real modest or even lower than modest price.
He's one of the unhoused residents living in the stretch of Carlton Street that last night the Berkeley City Council decided to give to Bayer, a portion of road that dead ends into Bayer's campus with Bayer-owned buildings on both sides. At a meeting last week when the transfer of the land was first discussed, a city staffer explained how the encampment will be handled.
We would, have staff go out and talk with people to the extent we had to the extent that we have shelter opportunity, we would offer that. And to the extent we don't, we don't.
The Bayer campus in Berkeley is 46 acres in all and is home to research labs as well as manufacturing facilities, mostly for specialty medications. The pharmaceutical giant sent a representative to last week's council meeting.
We have reported multiple fires at this location. I also need to make sure that there is a safe place for our people to work and that we can maintain the safety of the medicines that we produce for people.
I think it's more so that we're isolated. Because the people don't like looking at the trash and looking at the people and looking at us doing whatever we're doing over here.
Jasmine says the clearing of the encampment only moves the problem elsewhere and doesn't do anything to actually address the homelessness crisis. While Cowboy says he'll be left to figure out what to do with his outdoor market.
I don't know. It came here little by little over a course of 7-8 months via bike. So where there's a will, there's a way.
We reached out to Bayer Pharmaceuticals with questions about this, and what they told us is that they are actually the ones that requested to take over ownership and maintenance of Carlton Street. They've done it on other streets that dead end into their campus and thought that would be the most efficient and safe way of dealing with this encampment. As far as timelines go, when this could be cleared, that we still don't know.
All righty, Katie, coming up in sports, one Giants pitcher makes his first big league start in the Big Apple against the Mets. Plus. And while the Valkyries are wrapping up the long road trip, their practice facility in Oakland is getting a good workout as well. Kelsey Thorud shows us how.
Have you ever wanted a chance to play your favorite sport on the actual court where your idols practice every day? Well, a lucky group of Valkyries fans are getting the chance to do exactly that this season.
It's awesome. It's like you're breathing holy air.
Lauren Bond is a Valkyries diehard who comes from a long line of basketball-obsessed people.
Our parents played, our grandparents played, yeah, and then me and my sister both played at Berkeley High, and then did a bunch of like intramurals and also women's tournaments.
In partnership with Kaiser Permanente, the Valkyries invited Lauren, her sister, and close to 100 other lucky women to participate in an open gym session at the Valkyries Sephora Performance Center.
I think it's super cool, like being able to like step my foot on the court that these players are on. Like, you don't really get to do that often.
Players of all skill levels were invited to participate. Yasmin Ramirez is a student at USF and currently plays on a club team there.
It's super fun and getting to meet new people. I'm super excited, and to play ball, of course.
The goal, to give players a chance to both compete and connect with each other in a welcoming environment. Lauren Bond told me that's huge.
Like, we've all been there trying to play with dudes and like dudes who are super broy and don't want to let you have space on the court and like make you prove yourself over and over again. And I think like that tends to really tie women on a court together. Like, I already just met like 3 people today, introduced ourselves cold, who were super nice.
The hope is to eventually open these sessions up to the public fully next season. Lauren told me she'd love to come back. Her goal this night, though, to get back into the game she's always loved and, of course, come out of it unscathed.
I'm telling everyone, I'm like, if I walk away today uninjured, it's a win.
And getting back to news, coming up, Democrats are criticizing the president's move to fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We've got details coming up.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
And welcome back on this Saturday evening. We are following that manhunt in Montana. 45-year-old Mike Brown accused of shooting and killing a man, killing 4 people at a bar on Friday morning. That's left residents in the small town of Anaconda shaken. While the search continues, reporter Chet Lehman spoke with those who knew him.
I was like, if it's the Mike Brown I know, doesn't surprise me.
Mike Brown is the fugitive suspected in the mass shooting that left 4 people dead in Anaconda's Al Bar at 10:30 Friday morning.
I did see the gentleman that probably did the shooting. I watched him come out of his house with a rifle in his hand.
Sturgar works just down the street in another neighborhood bar. The neighborhood crowded with law enforcement from several counties, even the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. They continue to look for Brown. To those who knew him, they say he had his challenges. As for the shooting, that was a shock to all.
Never talked about doing something like this, so you can't really, there wasn't a red flag enough to, in my opinion, that would warrant, we should have got him off the streets before it happened.
Social media viral with posts about Brown, the victims, and the manhunt. As for Anaconda, this crime was personal.
I know everybody involved, and it's just a bad deal for our town.
The manhunt continues while the families of the 4 victims try to deal with their grief, a grief felt by the community as a whole.
The neighborhood's great. It's friendly. It's just a sad occurrence that happened this morning.
Several businesses in Anaconda closed today because of the shooting. Now the town must try to pick up the pieces.
A New York labor advocate is back home after being retained or detained by Israeli forces while on an aid ship to Gaza. Chris Smalls was greeted by family and supporters when he arrived at JFK Airport yesterday. He was one of the 21 activists detained by Israeli forces on board an aid ship on international waters on July 27th. The Legal Center for Arab Minority Rights in Israel says that he was held for 5 days in an Israeli prison. The flotilla was part of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. That organization accused Israeli forces of discriminatory treatment of Smalls while he was in their custody.
Free Gaza, free people of Palestine. That's all it's about. We're going to send another flotilla, another one after that, and we're never going to quit and give up.
Smalls says that he was exhausted. He had only been on a hunger strike, but did not discuss his treatment while in Israeli custody. Meantime, planes dropped more aid into central and southern Gaza today. Humanitarian workers say that hunger has just gotten worse throughout the past 22 months of fighting because of aid restrictions. In March, Israel enforced a complete blockade on food and other supplies as a way to put pressure on Hamas to release dozens of hostages. Aid resumed in May, but the amount is just a fraction of what aid organizations say is needed for that area. And backlash from President Trump's decision to fire the Commissioner of Labor Statistics. This comes as the White House continues to face questions about Jeffrey Epstein. CBS News' Willie James Inman's got that story.
President Trump continues to face backlash from leading Democrats in the wake of his decision to fire the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The president fired the commissioner on Friday after a weaker than expected July jobs report showed hiring slowed with only 73,000 new jobs created, and revisions revealed hiring in May and June was much less than initially reported. Without citing evidence, the president claimed the job numbers were rigged.
I believe the numbers were phony, so you know what I did? I fired her. And you know what? I did the right thing.
Massachusetts Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren blasted the move.
Donald Trump has made clear he wants to politicize those statistics. And as soon as that happens, who knows what the real numbers are? Are they higher? Are they lower? How much have they been inflated? Because there's a president standing there saying, if you give bad numbers, it's off with your head.
The president's war with job numbers happens as his administration continues to face questions surrounding disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. On Friday, House Oversight Chair James Comer agreed to a request from Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell to delay her congressional deposition until after the Supreme Court considers her petition to overturn her conviction for sex trafficking. Maxwell had been scheduled to be interviewed by members of Congress on August 11th. Also on Friday, it was revealed Maxwell had been moved from a prison in Tallahassee to a low-security prison in Texas. The move comes following Maxwell's two-day interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Ghislaine Maxwell's move to that low-security prison in Texas sparked outrage from some family members of victims. They think that Maxwell, daughter of the late publishing magnate Robert Maxwell, is getting preferential treatment. And coming up, you know what they say, one man's trash, another man's treasure. A look at a supply giveaway in San Mateo that is making a difference. Next.
Now you can get your KPIX news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today.
And welcome back. We're taking you to a unique effort in San Mateo County to help nonprofits and the environment. Surplus Shopping Day. It gives away supplies and furniture from county offices, and Suji Nam's got that story.
I'm actually just the muscle around this place, so it looks like we're getting some desk chairs, some TVs, coffee tables.
Chris New is on a mission to bring some furniture back to East Palo Alto. Simple things like desks and TVs do go a long way.
Let's go.
At his nonprofit organization, Anamatangi Polynesian Voices.
The goal is just to help the youth, especially in our area and our Polynesian youth.
This is his first time picking up free furniture at the Surplus Shopping Day. The San Mateo County Sustainability Department held the event at a former hotel in South San Francisco. While the county is in the midst of transforming the building into permanent supportive housing, Some items left behind are now also up for grabs.
Here we can see there's a lot of different lamps that have been in these hotel rooms, mirrors and art and other decor and things like that.
Gordon Tong, the county's waste reduction program manager, says most of these free items were once used in county offices.
That way, we can both save money and we can help our community partners and we can reach our sustainability goals.
He adds that since the program began, they have rehoused more than 3,000 items to local nonprofits, schools, libraries, and other city governments.
Otherwise, we'd have to recycle or dispose of these items.
Yes.
And they're going in the hands, or arms rather, of community leaders like New.
It's definitely for a greater purpose. I mean, it could just be like somebody putting sodas or something in here, but I mean, it's better for somebody to get it than for it to go to waste.
He wants to do more to help his community get the resources they need.
We got to help our community so we can all grow together, support each other.
New is grateful for giveaways like these so he can give used furniture a second home to his second home.
There are certain items that are available for anybody to pick up, and to request them, you just have to go to the list online at govdeals.com/San Mateo County and send an email with your request, and that's all there is to it. And coming up, San Francisco is going electric, the push to get buildings under renovation to make that switch. Darren?
In the forecast, Brian, we'll talk about our marine layer and track our pretty serene weather. We will also talk about a new development in California. Looking at the coastline, you can see Monterey on the top. There's San Luis Obispo. That is the latest fire. And when you look at, this is live updating satellite, it's going into one of those pyrocumulus forms there. You see how the clouds are bubbling up there? That says things about intensity, a very hot fire burning down there with a lot of smoke. I'll show you where that smoke is going in the forecast. And then, of course, we'll also talk about the rest of your weekend and what to expect from next week's warm up here at home. Forecast and all that coming up.
Back to Channel 5 here at Battery at Broadway in San Francisco. And as San Francisco aims to create net zero emissions by 2040, leaders have proposed a new measure to require homes and businesses undergoing major renovation to make the switch from gas to electric. Right now, the city only requires new construction to be electric. Our Kara St. Cyr has more from homeowners who are making the switch.
Hey, Garen?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Justin with Ace.
Ace, cool.
I just want to let you know I'm on my way.
Justin Spillman is seeing San Francisco's push for fewer gas appliances in real time.
So they want a quote on replacing their existing gas water heater.
He's a contractor with Ace Plumbing in Rooter. He's getting more calls about converting gas heaters to electric ones.
They want their energy bills to go down. They want to get ahead of the curve when it comes to the changes that are happening in the emissions goals of the city.
Back in 2020, San Francisco adopted an ordinance that bans natural gas in new builds, an effort to reduce greenhouse emissions. Now the city wants to update the ordinance to include large-scale renovations, meaning people like Justin's client, Garen Checkley.
Hey, Garen. Hi. Justin.
Who are remodeling homes and businesses.
So the water heater's in here?
Would have to convert to electricity for heating and cooling, water heating, and cooking.
I mean, we know that we over time want to electrify our house for environmental and climate reasons, for health and safety reasons. This is especially true for the gas stove that we have inside. We've been reading all the studies.
The amendment would apply to wall and ceiling renovations and remodels covering 2/3 of the building.
There's a lot of reason to get natural gas out of our buildings.
Board of Supervisors President Raphael Mandelman, who's behind the push, says this next step is necessary for a greener San Francisco.
We can't say that every conversion of a building is or every major retrofit is going to involve that building going all electric, but it's pushing in that direction.
Back at the House, Guerin says the only drawback to the amendment is the price tag. Even with state and federal rebates, Guerin says he'll pay thousands for this update.
I'm a supporter of the efforts to electrify our city. What I would also like to see is state and city changes that make it more efficient and cheaper.
But for now, both Guerin and Justin are content to get going on this change.
All right, let's get an updated look on what's going on with the fire that we reported on a little bit earlier in the newscast. I'm just going to start there for a moment, and then I'll bring you back home to our weather. You can see there's a warm-up coming for us. I'll get to that more in a second. Let's come up to the monitor. It's oriented so that you're looking largely at the coast of Central California. If you look way up on the upper corner there, the Bay Area's up there, but then you can see Monterey. And then when you look all the way to the bottom right there, look at that big plume of smoke there coming off the fire. And it's so tall, the plume of smoke is so tall, it is casting shadows in that last frame. Can you see it? Almost looks like it's bubbling up. And that is what's happening there. This fire has gotten so hot, it's producing one of those pyrocumulus clouds, and you can see it. Thanks to the network of cameras that is lined up across the state, thanks to a partnership between UC San Diego and PG&E, watch the plume of smoke here coming off this fire. And as we play this forward slowly, the camera's going to jostle around a bit to capture it. But every once in a while, you're going to see a bit of a jump right there as the cloud all of a sudden takes off. That is not smoke. That is an actual development of a thunderstorm that's being driven by the heat off that fire. The fire has gotten so hot, the updrafts are so strong, it's no longer just ejecting smoke, it's actually creating a very nascent thunderstorm right on top of it. Those are important because they show you that the fire's got a lot of heat to work with, but it also tells you that this fire is now going to be venting and pumping a lot of smoke into the upper levels of the atmosphere, because sure, that is a cloud up there, but you're also now pulling in all the rest of the smoke and then driving that up into that convective column and then spreading that out across the rest of the West. And that's when you got to be thinking about, well, how much smoke are we going to be dealing with from this thing now? Because on two fronts, it's a very hot fire and it's injecting a lot of smoke. So there's your future cast on it. Watch the projection here from today. Thankfully for us, that smoke column is going the other way. So we're likely not going to have to deal with the smoke here at home, but they certainly will be in Southern California, Ventura County, LA County, San Diego County, Riverside, San Bernardino, all of them are going to be looking at hazy looking skies. So even though it's not here at home, here we are now at another point in the year where not only do we have a new significant fire to report on, but what will impact far more people than the actual front lines of the fire itself is that we're going to be seeing a large plume of smoke now enveloping much of Southern California. It doesn't look like it should be terrible air quality at this point. But if that goes for days, some of that smoke could start settling down. So that's just one item on the keep this on your radar chapter of the forecast. All right, let's come back home for us. And I know I said home, but we're looking at a map of the continental United States because this is the projection that the Climate Prediction Center has put out for the 8 to 14 day probability. How confident are we temperatures are going to be above average in that time period from day 8 in the forecast to day 14? In other words, where the 7-day leaves off. And you go out another 7. Deep shades of red on here for us show you a moderately higher degree of confidence that we're going to be above average. We haven't fallen into this category much this summer. Let me show you what this will look like back here at home. We'll say goodbye to the actual imagery across the U.S. And let's just look at 2 days on here. First one being tomorrow. These are your daytime highs for Sunday. Second half of your weekend is not really all that different from your first half with one exception. A little less marine layer. You should have more sunny conditions across a bigger part of the bay earlier in the day tomorrow and throughout the day. And that's what Sunday looks like. But when we skip ahead now, and let's take a look at how those colors will transition for Wednesday, we got a lot more yellow over here. But what you do need to pay attention to is they got hotter inland. This is the second half of this next coming week. This is not a heat wave. We're not concerned about this from a heat-related health impact standpoint, but it is going to be noticeably warmer primarily because we haven't really done much of that. Low 90s for inland parts of the bay. You're going to feel that, and it'll probably catch your attention. But just know, all we're really doing is warming up to about average and then maybe about 4 or 5 degrees above average. And that's what you see in the 7-day forecast, really back here. Wednesday, Thursday. Doesn't look like it's going to last too long either, because the numbers should start to come back down by the time we get towards the early part of next week. And to round this out, here's 7-day forecast now for the Bay, which has primarily been populated with numbers in the upper 60s all summer. The first time it's been all 70s for this microclimate going across the Bay. It's finally getting back to typical summer. All right, Brian, over to you.
And about time. Thank you, Darren. Coming up next for this week's Icon Award, we're introducing you to a Pacifica man who is proving there is no age limit to hanging 10. We'll be right back. Well, there's a surf competition on the San Mateo County coastline where you're considered to be junior if you're in your 40s. A Pacifica man is celebrating his 25th and final year running the annual contest. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
Surf's Up.
This is the men's 40 to 49 shortboard.
Thanks to lifelong surfer Roy Ernest.
I love bringing people together and seeing that they're having a good time. It makes me very happy.
The 71-year-old Pacifica resident has organized an annual benefit surf contest for a quarter century.
It welcomes older surfers. You know, the minimum age is 40.
When Roy had entered surf competitions in the 1990s, the older divisions had unflattering labels like over the hill or worse. And that didn't sit well with the gerontologist and social worker.
I've worked in the field of aging for many, many years. You know, so I'm kind of sensitive to ageist stuff, you know.
So he took a friend's advice and launched the Kahuna Capuna benefit surf contest in 1999. The name means wise elder in Hawaiian culture.
We could create a surf contest that welcomed older people, that treated older surfers with respect.
Kahuna Capuna turns the tide on what it means to be an older surfer. And that inspired 63-year-old Sylvia Teng, a first-time participant.
How excited are you? Very excited.
80 surfers competed in men's, women's, and intergenerational categories at Pacifica's Lindamar State Beach this summer, like surfer and sponsor Jeff Bjork of Ocean Culture.
I've been surfing ever since I was a little kid, and for me, it's a way to, you know, stay young, keep yourself young, and be around amazing people.
Yeah, there is a whale right back there.
In fact, Roy has created a special bond in the coastal community. Surfer and sponsor Van Lee of Bomb Waves returns each year.
He just loves being a part of the community, and he wants to bring people together.
We got some serious interest.
A decades-old nonprofit also rides on the competition's success. Kahuna Capuna is the main fundraiser for Pacifica's environmental family. And its president, Cindy Abbott, says the money helps support coastal protection and education.
It really is critical, and he does it with such beautiful spirit and camaraderie. You know, the Kahuna Capuna is very low-key, but it's well-loved.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, hey, Roy. Good to see you.
But Roy has led his last Kahuna Capuna. He hopes someone else will come on board who's just as stoked about surfing.
It's a wonderful thing, you know, and, you know, I just love it.
So for creating Kahuna Capuna to honor older surfers and benefit Pacifica's environmental family, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Roy Ernest.
And since we're out at the shoreline, another unconventional surf contest in Pacifica. A number of dogs braved the rough seas. Rough. Get it, Scotty? Rough seas? For this year's World Dog Surfing Championships, we heard from PETA, whose golden retriever named Babe had just finished competing in the large dog division.
We did great. There were 3 people, and I'm pretty sure we came within the first 3. So we're very happy.
And a good time ahead by all. The contest brought thousands of spectators to Lindamar Beach. You ever surfed?
I have never surfed. I would love to learn how.
Yeah, I was in San Diego and I thought, you know, San Diego, good surfing weather, and the local surfers at the station, I said, could I go out there? And they said, no.
They talked you out of it,
Talked me out of it because they don't want to.
Yeah, right.
Plenty of room. Thanks for watching. See you back here at 11. Darren says warming trend details then. Until then, news continues streaming on CBS News Bay Area. For now.